The bridge of the United Earth Space Command ship Valiant was quiet. Only the soft beeping of computers broke the silence. Commander Frank Powell stared at the main screen. His dark eyes narrowed as he studied the star map. The ship was on a routine patrol near Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. "Commander, we're picking up a distress signal," said Officer Amy Green, her fingers moving quickly over her control panel. Powell straightened in his chair. "Source? Research Outpost Echo 7 on Europa, sir. It's breaking up, lots of static." Powell nodded to communications. "Put it through." The speakers crackled. A man's voice filled with fear came through. "This is Dr. Reeves at Echo 7. We're under attack. They came out of nowhere. Weapons like nothing I've seen. They're cutting through our—" The message ended in static. "Last transmission was 8 minutes ago, sir," Amy said. Powell didn't hesitate. "Set course for Echo 7. Alert medical and security teams. We might have survivors to rescue." The Valiant changed direction, its powerful engines pushing it toward Europa. Powell pressed a button on his chair. "Dr. Kelly to the bridge." 5 minutes later, Dr. Lisa Kelly arrived. Her red hair was tied back, and she wore the blue uniform of the science division. "What's happening?" she asked. "Distress call from Echo 7. Possible attack." Powell turned to her. "I need your expertise. Echo 7 was doing research on what exactly?" Kelly frowned. "Deep ice core samples, looking for signs of ancient microbial life, nothing that should attract trouble. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Europa. The white, ice-covered moon filled the view screen. "Scan for the outpost," Powell ordered. Officer Ben Walsh shook his head as he read the scan results. "Sir, I'm not finding the outpost, where it should be. There's a large crater instead. And I'm picking up unusual energy readings, on screen," Powell said. The view screen showed a smoking hole in Europa's ice. Around it, strange blue energy patterns flickered. "I've never seen readings like these," Kelly said, studying the data on Walsh's screen. "That's not any human weapon I know of." Powell stood up. "Prepare a shuttle. I want a closer look. Dr. Kelly, you're with me. Security Team Alpha as well." 30 minutes later, Powell, Kelly, and 4 security officers landed their shuttle near the crater. They wore sealed suits to protect against Europa's harsh conditions. "Be alert," Powell said through his helmet comm. "We don't know what happened here." They approached the edge of the crater carefully. What they saw made them stop. The research outpost was gone. In its place was a perfect circular hole, the edges smooth as glass. "It's like something melted it away," Kelly whispered, kneeling to examine the edge. "But the ice isn't melted. It's been changed at a molecular level." "Sir," called Security Officer Clark, "we found something." They followed him to a small emergency shelter half buried in ice about 50 meters from the crater. Inside, they found a single survivor. Dr. Peter Reeves lay on the floor badly injured. His skin had strange blue marks that seemed to glow. Kelly quickly checked his vital signs. "He's alive but barely." Reeves's eyes fluttered open. "Commander," he said, recognizing Powell's uniform, "they found us." "Who found you?" Powell asked, kneeling beside him. "They called themselves the Vextar." Reeves coughed, his voice weak. "3 ships, like nothing I've seen. Crystal and metal. They landed and these things came out, tall like insects standing upright. 6 limbs. They said we were an infestation, that humans needed to be removed before we spread further into the galaxy." "What happened to the outpost?" Kelly asked gently. "Their weapons, they pointed and everything just came apart. People, equipment, buildings, all turned to dust." Reeves gripped Powell's arm. "They didn't even see it as fighting. They saw it as cleaning. We're just dirt to them." Powell looked at Kelly. "We need to get him back to the ship." As they carefully moved Reeves to a stretcher, the ground shook. Outside, the ice began to crack. "Move! Back to the shuttle!" Powell ordered. They ran, carrying Reeves between them. Behind them, the ice split open. 3 crystalline ships, each about the size of a small house, rose from beneath Europa's surface. "They were hiding under the ice," Kelly said, her voice filled with shock. They reached the shuttle just as one of the alien ships turned toward them. A blue beam shot out. "Take off! Now!" Powell shouted to the pilot. The shuttle lifted off, narrowly, avoiding the beam. Where it hit the ice, a perfect circle simply vanished. Looking out the window, Powell saw the alien ships clearly for the first time. They were made of some kind of blue crystal, with metal parts that moved and shifted like living things. They didn't look like they were built. They looked grown. "Sir, the Valiant is hailing us," the pilot said. "Put it through," Powell replied. "Commander, what's happening down there?" It was his first officer, Jack Rivers. "Prepare the ship for immediate departure. We have hostiles, 3 unknown vessels." Powell looked back at the alien ships which were now rising higher above Europa's surface. "And put me through to Earth Command. Priority Alpha." Back on the Valiant, Dr. Reeves was rushed to medical. Powell and Kelly headed straight to the bridge. "Status of the alien vessels?" Powell asked as he took his command chair. "They've cleared Europa's surface and are holding position," Rivers reported. "On screen," Powell ordered. The main screen showed the 3 crystal ships now glowing with blue energy. "Sir," Walsh said from his station, "they're scanning us." Kelly studied her console. "Their technology. It's like nothing in our database." Suddenly, the ship shook. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "They hit us with some kind of energy pulse," Rivers reported. "Shields holding, but that was just a test shot." Powell made his decision. "Get us out of here, maximum speed." As the Valiant turned away from Europa, one of the alien ships fired again. This time, the beam grazed the ship's lower hull. "Damage report," Powell called. "Section 12B, it's just gone, sir," Walsh said, his voice shaking. "The beam didn't damage it. That section of the hull simply doesn't exist anymore." The Valiant accelerated, leaving the alien ships behind. They didn't follow, but Powell knew this wasn't over. In medical, he and Kelly stood by Dr. Reeves's bed. The doctor's condition was getting worse. The strange blue marks had spread across his body. "I can't stop it," the ship's doctor said. "Whatever this energy is, it's breaking down his cellular structure." Reeves opened his eyes. "Commander," he whispered. "They said they would be coming. Not just here, everywhere humans are. They've been watching us for years. They think we're dangerous." "Why?" "We've never even met them before," Kelly said. "Because—" Reeves struggled to speak. "Because we adapt. They've seen our history, how fast we change, grow, overcome. They fear what we might become." His breathing became shallow. "They don't understand us. And that's why they'll lose." Those were his last words. The monitors flatlined. Powell turned to Kelly. "I need everything you can learn from those scans of their ships and weapons." "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Warn Earth." Powell's face was grim. Humanity is no longer alone in the universe, and our first meeting was not peaceful. As the Valiant raced back toward Earth, Powell recorded his report for Earth Command. He knew that everything was about to change. Humanity had built ships, colonized planets, and reached for the stars. But they had always been alone. Now they had met aliens for the first time, and those aliens wanted them dead. The war for survival had begun. 6 months had passed since the Europa incident. Earth was on high alert. The warning from Commander Powell had changed everything. Humanity was preparing for war. Admiral Grace Howard stood at the window of Earth Command headquarters in Geneva. She was a tall woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles, but never one like this. "Admiral, the Security Council is ready," said her aide. Howard nodded and turned away from the view of the city. She walked into the meeting room where military leaders from around the world waited. "The Vextar fleet has been spotted at the edge of the solar system," she said without greeting. "Our long-range sensors detected them yesterday. 30 ships, maybe more." General Sam Carter of North American Defense frowned. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, 2 weeks," Howard replied. "We've positioned our fleets at key defensive points. Mars Colony has been reinforced. Jupiter Station is on full evacuation alert." What about the weapons research? Asked Director Nina Patel. She led the science division working on countermeasures against the alien threat. Howard's face darkened. Not enough progress. The Vextar technology is too different from ours. On the main screen, images from the Europa incident played. The strange blue beams that made matter simply disappear. The crystalline ships that seemed to be partly alive. Their weapons cut through our best armor like it's paper. Howard continued. We need a breakthrough, and we need it fast. Far from Earth, near the orbit of Neptune, Lieutenant Adam Cruz sat in the gunner's seat of the UESC destroyer Phoenix. The ship was part of the first defense line against the approaching Vextar fleet. Contact, multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, called the sensor officer. Cruz felt his heart race as the alien ships appeared on his targeting screen. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Crystal structures that glowed blue, moving in perfect formation. All ships, battle positions, came the order from Captain Linda Foster. Remember your training. The human fleet formed a defensive wall. 20 ships against the alien armada. Cruz knew the odds were bad, but they had to try. They're launching smaller craft, someone reported. Cruz watched as hundreds of crystal fighters poured from the larger ships. The battle had begun. Fire, at will, ordered Captain Foster. Human ships opened fire. Missiles and energy beams shot toward the alien vessels. Some hit their targets, causing small explosions on the crystal surfaces. But the damage seemed minor. Then the Vextar returned. Fire! Blue beams cut through space. Where they hit human ships, pieces simply vanished. No explosion, no fire. Just gone. Evasive maneuvers, Foster shouted. The Phoenix turned sharply, barely avoiding a beam. Cruz fired his weapons continuously at the alien fighters. Sometimes he hit them, sometimes he missed. The fight was chaos. Hull breach in Section 4, reported the damage control officer. We've lost the entire starboard missile bay. Cruz kept firing, even as he saw other human ships being cut apart by the blue beams. Then something strange happened. A Vextar fighter fired directly at the Phoenix's bridge. The beam hit and the front view screen disintegrated. But the people standing nearby were only knocked down. What the hell? Cruz whispered. The beam should have killed everyone, but the crew members were getting back up, dazed but alive. Before he could think more about it, another blast rocked the ship. We can't hold them, Foster shouted. All ships, retreat to fallback position. The human fleet turned and ran. Of 20 ships, only 11 remained. The first battle against the Vextar had been lost. Back on Earth, in a heavily guarded research facility, Dr. Paul Martinez watched the battle footage for the 10th time. He was a short man with thick glasses and a mind that never stopped working. Something about the battle didn't make sense to him. Play it again, he told his assistant. Focus on this section here. The screen showed the moment when the bridge of the Phoenix was hit. The equipment disintegrated, but the people survived. There's a pattern, Martinez muttered. The beams affect different materials differently. He typed rapidly on his computer, running analyses. Look at that. The beams completely destroy silicon-based materials, computers, screens, certain types of metal alloys. But organic matter is damaged much less. His assistant looked confused. What does that mean? Martinez's eyes widened as realization hit him. It means their weapons weren't designed for us. They were designed to fight something else. He grabbed his phone and called Admiral Howard directly. Admiral, I need to speak with the survivors from the Neptune battle, especially anyone who was directly hit by a Vextar weapon. 2 days later, Martinez stood in a hospital room with Lieutenant Cruz. The young officer had bandages on his arms where the alien beam had touched him. It felt hot like a sunburn, Cruz explained, but nothing like what it did to the ship. Martinez nodded, taking notes. The beam that hit you destroyed your console completely? Yes, turned it to dust, but I just got knocked back. Doesn't make sense. Actually, it makes perfect sense, Martinez said with excitement in his voice. The Vextar weapons are designed to disrupt silicon-based neural systems. Silicon-based what? Neural systems. Brains. Martinez paced the room. Look, all life, On Earth is carbon-based, our brains, our bodies built on carbon compounds. But it's theoretically possible for life to evolve based on silicon instead. The Vextar weapons are designed to fight silicon-based life forms. Cruz sat up in his bed. You're saying their weapons aren't meant for humans? Exactly. They assumed. We were silicon-based, like whatever other aliens they've encountered before. Their weapons disrupt silicon molecular bonds at a fundamental level. That's why they destroy our technology so easily. Computers, ships, sensors, all silicon-based. But against our carbon-based bodies, they're much less effective. Martinez rushed back to his lab. If he was right, this could change everything. The Vextar had a critical weakness. They didn't understand what humans were made of. Admiral Howard listened intently as Martinez explained his discovery. The top military and scientific minds of Earth were gathered in the war room. So their weapons aren't as effective against us as they should be, Howard said slowly. Right, they can still kill us, the energy transfer alone is dangerous, but they're not nearly as deadly to humans as they are to our technology, Martinez replied, and that gives us a chance. Director Patel spoke up. We can develop shields that mimic carbon structures rather than silicon. It won't stop their weapons completely, but it will reduce their effectiveness. Howard nodded. How quickly can we modify our ships? The first prototypes could be ready in a week, Patel said. Do it, Howard ordered. And Dr. Martinez, I want you working with our weapons development team. If we understand their technology better than they understand ours, we might have a fighting chance. As the meeting broke up, Howard looked at the star map. The Vextar fleet had pushed past Neptune and was approaching Uranus. The next battle would be even harder. On Mars Colony, Colonel Diane Russell received the update about the new shield technology. Her base was likely to be the next target for the alien fleet. Get these modifications installed on every vehicle and building, she ordered her engineers. We don't have much time. As her people rushed to prepare, Russell watched the sky. Somewhere up there, the enemy was coming. An enemy that thought humans would be easy to kill, that had not bothered to study what humans were really made of. They were about to learn their mistake. In space, the Vextar fleet moved forward with confidence. Their commander, a tall insectoid, being studied the reports from the Neptune battle. The humans had been easily defeated. Their weapons were primitive, their ships fragile. Soon the human infestation would be cleansed. The commander felt no emotion about this. It was simply necessary. Humans spread too quickly, adapted too easily. They were dangerous. The commander did not consider that the same human ability to adapt might become the Vextar's biggest problem. The humans had seen the alien weapons now. They were already learning, already changing, and the Vextar's greatest advantage was about to disappear. Red emergency lights flashed across Mars Colony Alpha. Sirens wailed as people rushed to secure bunkers. Colonel Diane Russell stood in the command center, her face grim, but determined. Status report, she ordered. Major Greg Harris pointed to the main screen. Vextar fleet has entered orbit. 37 ships, including 3 of their largest class. They're deploying landing craft. Russell nodded. How are our new shields holding? All buildings and defense stations are equipped with the carbon matrix shielding, Harris replied, but they're untested in real combat. Well, they're about to get tested, Russell said. She turned to address the whole room. This is what we've prepared for. Remember, their weapons aren't as effective against us as they think. Use that advantage. Outside, the sky darkened as alien ships descended through the thin Martian atmosphere. They were beautiful in a strange way, their crystal, structures catching the sunlight. Russell activated the colony-wide communication system. All civilians should be in shelters by now. All defense personnel to your stations, this is not a drill. She looked at the faces around her. Men and women ready to fight for humanity's future. Many were scared, but none showed it. Let's show these bugs what happens when they mess with humans, Russell said. The first Vextar landing craft touched down 3 kilometers from the colony's main dome. The aliens emerged, tall, insect-like creatures with 6 limbs and glowing blue eyes. They moved with strange grace, their exoskeletons reflecting the Martian sunlight. They carried weapons that looked like they had been grown rather than built. Blue energy hummed around the crystalline devices. The alien commander made a sound like clicking stones. The others formed into perfect lines and began marching toward the human colony. Inside the defensive perimeter, Sergeant Alan Willis waited. With his squad, they had taken cover in reinforced bunkers equipped with the new shielding technology. "Remember your training," he told his nervous soldiers. "Short bursts, aim for center mass, and don't be afraid if they hit you with their beams. The doc says, it'll hurt like hell, but it won't kill you right away." The Vextar approached, moving with mechanical precision. When they reached 500 meters from the perimeter, Willis gave the signal. "Open fire!" Human weapons roared. Bullets and energy blasts hit the alien lines. Several Vextar fell, their exoskeletons cracking. The aliens returned fire. Blue beams shot toward the human positions. Where they hit the new shields, they sparked and fizzled but didn't penetrate completely. "It's working," someone shouted. "The new shields are holding." Willis watched as a beam hit directly on their bunker. The outer layer of the shield dissolved, but the inner layers held. The Vextar seemed to hesitate. Their weapons weren't having the devastating effect they expected. Willis could almost sense their confusion. "Push forward," he ordered. His squad advanced, firing continuously. All across the perimeter, the same scene played out. Human forces, protected by the new carbon matrix shields, were holding their ground against alien technology that should have destroyed them. In the command center, Colonel Russell watched the battle unfold on multiple screens. The defense was working better than anyone had hoped. "The Vextar are pulling back in sectors 3 and 4, reported Major Harris. "They seem confused by our resistance." Russell allowed herself a small smile. "They expected us to fall easily. They don't understand what they're dealing with." She pointed to a section of the battlefield where a group of Vextar had become isolated. "Send Strike Team Delta to that position. I want a prisoner and any alien technology they can grab." Captain Joe Foster led Strike Team Delta through a maintenance tunnel. They emerged behind the isolated group of Vextar, who were still firing at the main human defensive line. "On my mark," Foster whispered. 3, 2, 1, go." His team attacked, from behind. The aliens turned, clearly surprised by the flanking maneuver. In the chaos, Foster shot the legs out from under one of the taller Vextar who appeared to be giving orders. "Take that one alive," he shouted. The team focused fire on the other aliens, while 2 soldiers rushed forward with capture nets specially, designed by Dr. Martinez's team. They threw the nets over the wounded alien leader, who thrashed and clicked but couldn't escape. "We got one," Foster reported into his comm. "And sir, there's something else here. Looks like some kind of scout ship. Small but intact." Back in the command center, Russell's eyes widened. "Secure that ship. We need everything inside it." Across the battlefield, the tide was turning. The Vextar, facing unexpected resistance, began to fall back to their landing craft. "They're retreating," Major Harris said in disbelief. Russell shook her head. "Tactical withdrawal. They'll be back with a new approach, but we've won this round." She turned to her communications officer. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command. Tell Admiral Howard we have a captured Vextar in one of their ships." 12 hours later, Dr. Lisa Kelly stepped off a transport ship that had rushed her from Earth to Mars. She had been working with Dr. Martinez on understanding Vextar technology and was the best qualified to examine the captured ship. Colonel Russell met her at the landing pad. "Welcome to Mars, Doctor. Sorry about the reception committee." She gestured to the still-smoking battlefield in the distance. Kelly smiled. "I hear you gave them quite a surprise. Their weapons aren't as effective as they thought they would be," Russell confirmed. Martinez was right. They walked to a secure hangar where the alien scout ship was being kept under heavy guard. Kelly gasped when she saw it. Up close, the crystal structure seemed to pulse with energy, almost like it was breathing. "It's partly organic," she said, running a scanner over the surface. "Silicon-based organic compounds unlike anything on Earth." Russell looked concerned. Is it dangerous? Not if we're careful. Kelly began examining the ship's entry point. I need to get inside. Their navigation systems might tell us where they came from, maybe even why they're so determined to wipe us out. While Kelly worked on the ship, Russell checked on the captured alien. It was being held in a special cell designed to contain it safely. Dr. Martinez was already there, studying the creature through a transparent barrier. What have you learned? Russell asked. Martinez didn't look away from the alien. They communicate through silicon-based neural networks. That's why their weapons are designed the way they are. They're meant to disrupt those networks. The closest analogy would be like an EMP for silicon brains. Can you communicate with it? Working on it. I've built a basic translator based on the patterns we've observed, but it's going to take time. In the hangar, Kelly had managed to access the alien ship's control systems. What she found amazed her. Colonel, you need to see this, she called when Russell returned. On a glowing interface, strange symbols flowed and changed. Kelly had connected her tablet to it, running translation software. Their entire fleet runs on a connected network, Kelly explained. And it's all based on the same silicon neural patterns. They're not just similar to their weapons, they're the same technology. The ships, the weapons, even their communication systems. Russell's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying, Kelly replied, excitement in her voice, that we might be able to turn their weapons against them. If Martinez's carbon matrix technology can be modified to absorb their energy weapons, we might be able to redirect that energy back into their systems. Russell immediately contacted Admiral Howard. Admiral, we have a potential game-changer here. Howard's face appeared on the screen, looking tired but alert. Go ahead, Colonel. As Russell explained Kelly's discovery, Howard's expression changed, from exhaustion to hope. How quickly can you implement this? She asked. Kelly stepped into view. With Dr. Martinez's help, we could have a prototype ready in 2 weeks, but Admiral, there's more. The Vextar are preparing for a major assault on Earth. According to the data in this ship, their main fleet will arrive in 3 weeks. Howard's face hardened. Then you have 2 weeks to make this work. Earth's survival depends on it. As the call ended, Russell looked at Kelly. No pressure, right? Kelly managed to smile. Humans work best under pressure. It's one more thing the Vextar don't understand about us. Outside, the Martian sunset cast a red glow over the battlefield. The first real victory against the Vextar had been won. Not through superior firepower or technology, but because of a fundamental misunderstanding by the aliens. They had built their weapons for a different kind of enemy. They had never faced humans before, had never encountered carbon-based intelligence like Earth's, and now that mistake would cost them everything. The massive shipyard in Earth orbit buzzed with activity. Hundreds of space-suited workers moved across the hulls of warships, installing new systems and weapons. At the center of this activity was the newly commissioned ship Defiance, the first vessel built specifically to fight the Vextar. Commander Frank Powell stood at the viewport of a transport shuttle, watching as they approached the Defiance. 6 weeks had passed since he had first encountered the aliens at Europa. Now humanity was fighting back. Impressive, isn't she? Asked Dr. Lisa Kelly, who sat beside him. Powell nodded. Hard to believe they built her so quickly. When the whole world works together, amazing things happen, Kelly replied, and we had good motivation. The shuttle docked with the Defiance. Powell and Kelly were greeted by the ship's first officer, Commander Eric Nelson. Welcome aboard. Sir, Nelson said, saluting Powell. The crew is ready and the new systems are online. Powell returned the salute. Status report. Final checks on the energy redirection system are complete. All weapon systems are green. We're ready to launch Operation Resilience as soon as Admiral Howard gives the order. They walked through the ship's corridors. Unlike older vessels, the Defiance had been designed with the Vextar in mind. Its hull contained layers of carbon compounds that could absorb the aliens' energy weapons, and its own weapons had been modified using technology from the captured scout ship. Dr. Martinez is waiting for you in the science lab, Nelson told Kelly. I'll catch up with you later, Kelly said to Powell before heading down a different corridor. Powell continued to the bridge. It was larger than the one on his old ship, the Valiant, which had been destroyed in the second wave of Vextar attacks. He ran his hand along the captain's chair. His chair now. "Status of the fleet?" he asked. 20 ships ready for immediate departure," replied the tactical officer. "Another 15 will join us at Mars." Powell nodded. After the battle at Mars Colony, the Vextar had pulled back to Pluto, establishing a forward base there. Intelligence suggested they were regrouping for another attack on Earth. Admiral Howard had decided that humanity couldn't wait for that attack to come. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth Command," reported the communications officer. Admiral Howard's face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was serious as always, but Powell could see a hint of hope in her eyes. "Commander Powell, Operation Resilience is a go," she said. "Your fleet will depart at 0800 hours tomorrow. Your mission is to destroy the Vextar base on Pluto and demonstrate that our new weapons are effective. If possible, establish communication and make it clear that we are willing to discuss peace, but only on equal terms." Powell nodded. "Understood, Admiral." "Good hunting, Commander. Earth is counting on you." The screen went dark. Powell turned to his bridge crew. "Inform all ships. We launch tomorrow. I want every system checked twice." In the science lab, Dr. Kelly found Dr. Martinez working with a strange device. It looked like a crystal globe with wires and circuits attached to it. "Is that what I think it is?" she asked. Martinez looked up and smiled. "The communication device?" "Yes. I finally got it working. At least I think I did." The device was designed to translate human language into the silicon-based signals that the Vextar used to communicate. It had been built using parts from the captured scout ship and the knowledge gained from studying the Vextar prisoner. "Have you tested it?" Kelly asked. "Only in simulation. We'll get our chance to try it for real soon enough." Kelly sat down beside him. "Do you think they'll listen? The Vextar, I mean." Martinez shrugged. "They're intelligent beings. When they see their weapons failing and their ships being destroyed by their own energy, they might reconsider their opinion of us." "I hope so. I'd rather end this with talking than with more fighting." The next morning, the fleet departed Earth orbit. 20 ships led by the Defiance headed toward Pluto. It would take them 4 days to reach the distant dwarf planet. Powell used that time to prepare his crew. They ran combat drills and tested the new weapon systems. The modified energy cannons could now absorb the Vextar beams and redirect them back at the alien ships. In theory, the aliens' own weapons would become their greatest weakness. On the 4th day, the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Pluto. What they saw shocked everyone on the bridge. "My God," whispered Commander Nelson. Pluto's surface was covered with crystal structures. The Vextar had transformed the dwarf planet into a massive base. Dozens of alien ships orbited it, more than intelligence had predicted. "They've been busy," Powell said grimly. "Battle stations. All ships. Form up in attack pattern Delta." The human fleet spread out, preparing for combat. The Vextar ships noticed them immediately. The alien vessels began to move into formation. "They're powering up weapons," reported the tactical officer. Powell took a deep breath. "Fire first salvo. Target their lead ships." The human fleet fired. New energy weapons, modified with Vextar technology, shot toward the alien ships. Where they hit, the crystal structures cracked and broke apart. The Vextar returned fire. Blue beams lanced toward the human ships, but instead of cutting through hulls, the beams were caught by the carbon matrix shields. "Energy absorption at 87%, reported the engineering officer. "Redirection systems charging." Powell smiled. "Return their fire. Let's show them what we've learned." The Defiance's weapons powered up again, this time glowing with the same blue energy that the Vextar used. When they fired, the alien energy, redirected and focused, shot back toward the Vextar ships. The effect was devastating. The alien vessels, designed to emit that energy but not to withstand it, broke apart. Their crystal structures shattered as their own weapon energy tore through them. Across the fleet, the same scene played out. Human ships absorbing Vextar fire and sending it back, destroying the alien vessels with their own energy. "Sir, the aliens are pulling back," reported the tactical officer. "They seem confused by our counterattack." Powell nodded. "They expected us to be easy prey. They didn't expect us to understand their technology so quickly." On the alien command ship, the Vextar leader watched in confusion as its fleet was decimated. These humans had somehow turned Vexitar weapons against them. It was impossible. No species had ever adapted so quickly to Vexitar technology. The leader made a decision. It sent a signal to retreat. The remaining alien ships began to pull back from the battle. "They're running," said Commander Nelson. Powell shook his head. "Not yet. Target their main base on Pluto's surface. I want to make sure they understand we can hit them anywhere." The human fleet redirected its fire toward the crystal structures on Pluto. The combined energy beams cut through the alien base, causing massive destruction. In the science lab, the communication device suddenly activated. It glowed blue as it received a signal from the Vextar. "They're trying to contact us," Martinez said to Kelly. "They want to talk." Kelly rushed to the bridge. "Commander, we're receiving a communication from the Vextar. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Powell looked surprised. "Put it through." The main screen flickered. Strange symbols appeared, followed by a mechanical translation in human language. "Cease fire. We request dialogue." Powell looked around at his bridge crew. After weeks of fighting, after all the destruction and death, the Vextar wanted to talk. "Send a response," he ordered. "Tell them we're willing to meet, but they started this war. Now they're seeing what happens when you underestimate humans." As the message was sent, Powell looked out at the stars. The tide had turned. Humanity had taken the aliens' greatest weapon and made it their own. The Vextar had thought humans would be easy to destroy. They had been wrong, and now they were beginning to understand just how wrong they had been. The meeting place was a small research station in the asteroid belt, neutral ground between Earth and the remaining Vextar forces. Commander Frank Powell stood at the viewport, watching as the alien ship approached. It was smaller than their warships, clearly designed for diplomacy rather than combat. "Nervous?" asked Dr. Lisa Kelly as she joined him. Powell smiled slightly. "A month ago, I was fighting these creatures. Now I'm supposed to talk peace with them." "That's how wars end," she replied. With talking, Dr. Paul Martinez approached, carrying the communication device he had built. "The translator is ready. It should allow for real-time conversation." The station shook slightly as the Vextar ship docked. Security teams stood ready, but Powell had ordered them to keep weapons lowered. This was about peace, not more fighting. The airlock opened. 3 Vextar entered the station. They were even stranger up close. Tall, insect-like beings with 6 limbs and bodies that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. The leader wore some kind of ceremonial armor that glowed blue. Powell stepped forward. "I am Commander Frank Powell of Earth. This is Dr. Lisa Kelly and Dr. Paul Martinez." Martinez activated the translator. The device hummed as it processed Powell's words into silicon-based signals. The lead Vextar made clicking sounds that the device translated into English. "I am Nexus Controller Ziktar of the Vextar Collective. We come to understand." "Understand what?" Powell asked. "You," the alien replied. "You are not like the others we have encountered." The group moved to a conference room. Maps of the solar system covered the walls. The Vextar moved with strange grace, their multiple limbs perfectly coordinated. "Your weapons," Powell said. "They were designed for silicon-based life forms." The alien's head tilted in what might have been surprise. "You discovered this quickly." "Yes. All intelligent species we have encountered evolved from silicon as we did. In 12 star systems, all life followed this path. You are the first carbon-based intelligence we have found." Kelly leaned forward. "That's why your weapons weren't fully effective against us." "Yes. We assumed you would be like the others. We were wrong." The alien made a gesture with its upper limbs. "Your bodies resisted our cleansing energy. Then you took our own weapons and used them against us. No species has done this before." You called it cleansing, Powell said, his voice hardening. You came to exterminate us without even trying to communicate first. The Vextar was silent for a moment. We observed your development, your rapid growth, your constant adaptation. In less than 1,000 years, you went from primitive technology to space travel. No other species has evolved so quickly. We saw you as a threat that would soon spread beyond control. Martinez spoke up. And now? Now we see that you are different, in more ways than we understood. Your adaptability is not just a threat, it is a quality we did not know could exist. The Vextar leader placed a crystal device on the table. It projected a map of the galaxy, with 12 points of light marked in blue. These are the worlds of the Vextar Collective. We have controlled these systems for 50,000 years, and in all that time we have never encountered a species that could stand against our technology. Powell studied the map. What happens now? My leaders have ordered our forces to leave your system. We will return to our territory and reconsider our understanding of life in the galaxy. And will you come back to finish what you started? Powell asked bluntly. The alien made a sound that the translator couldn't process properly. It might have been laughter or perhaps surprise. We would be foolish to try. In less than one cycle of your planet, you took our greatest weapons and turned them against us. What would you do with 10 cycles? Or 100? The collective fears what humans might become. Kelly looked at Powell, then back to the alien. We don't want war. We want to explore, to learn, to grow. We could learn from each other instead of fighting. The Vextar seemed to consider this. Perhaps, but not yet. We must first understand what you are. The collective needs time to process the existence of carbon-based intelligence. This changes everything we believed about life in the cosmos. As the meeting concluded, Powell and the alien leader stood face to face. Will we see the Vextar again? Powell asked. Yes, the alien replied. But when we return, it will not be as enemies. You have earned the respect of the collective, and perhaps, in time, we will earn yours. After the Vextar departed, Powell stood with Kelly and Martinez, watching the alien ship disappear into the darkness of space. Do you think they'll keep their word? Martinez asked. Powell nodded. They're smart enough to know that we'd be ready, if they tried again. And next time we'd be even stronger. Kelly smiled. They came expecting to find a primitive species they could easily destroy. Instead, they found humans. And learned what everyone eventually discovers about us. Powell said, looking out at the stars. We're unstoppable when challenged,